Leave it still. Welcome to the home of Jim Strickland and Laurie Freeman, located in the Mohawk Valley of upstate New York. The front of the home is a greenhouse that works very effectively to bring in the sunshine during the colder months and lock it into hundreds of tons of masonry material. It works to even out the temperatures year-round. Jim and Laurie are off the grid, so they produce their own electricity from solar panels. Domestic hot water is made from solar thermal panels as well as from a wood-burning kitchen stove. The home's post and beam construction with straw bale insulation takes advantage of the hillside on the property by being earth burned. The north side of the structure is built into the hillside, keeping it protected from the weather, further improving the home's energy efficiency. The home is one of hundreds that open their doors every year to the Green Building's open house the first Saturday of October. Hope to see you there.
Actually started on the house in 1997. We cleared the land. And then we spent 4 years after that doing the foundation. And then we spent a year after that doing the frame. And then the following year, we did the walls and the windows and moved in.
Designing the house probably in the late 80s. Spent quite a bit of time. Actually, right up until the day we started digging, we were still working on the design. So it was probably a 10-year process.
Gotcha.
We wanted the house to follow the geography of the land.
And then we also wanted to build a house that used native material. And we wanted to do a timber frame, because Jim had always wanted to do a timber frame. And he had always wanted to cut his own trees down. And we also wanted it to be self-sufficient, like energy independent.
We can get temperatures even in January up to 110 degrees at the top of the greenhouse. Now the only method we have right now of harvesting that heat is just to open, there's French doors in the master bedroom. We open those doors, and they're on the second floor. And we open this door down here, and the house has this kind of a wedge shape. So you get this natural convection flow, flows from the top down and back out into the greenhouse. So that heat from the greenhouse circulates through the house. And so from the 110 degrees that you've got at the top of the greenhouse, you'll get up to typically 80, maybe 85 tops in the bedroom during the day. And then down here, it'll get up into the 70s, 71, 72.
And then when the sun goes down, you just close those doors.
You close those doors, and then very quickly the temperature evens out in the house because there's a tremendous amount of thermal mass. The house is always absorbing all that excess heat, just takes it right up. And then so it evens out, but then that'll hold temperature pretty much right through the night. It'll drop maybe 5 or 6 degrees over the course of the evening, you know, from night to morning. In the wintertime, we're heating with wood.
Okay.
We have 2 wood stoves. We have the kitchen stove, which is a combination. It's a cook stove, so we do all of our cooking on it in the wintertime. It's our principal source of heat, and also that heats our water in the wintertime. Most of the foundation is underground, so it's earth bermed, at least, you know, up on that 2-foot level.
And why did you do that?
Well, the advantage of earth berming is you just go to the wintertime and you think, what's the coldest temperature you've seen? Like, say, last winter, I guess we got down to maybe 18 below.
Yeah, it was way down there.
You know, but we've seen temperatures as low as 30 below. Okay? When it's 30 below outside and you're trying to heat your house to 65 or 70 degrees, you're looking at a 95 or 100 degree temperature differential between the inside and the outside.
Okay.
Well, when it's 30 below outside, it's still 50 degrees under the ground. You go down 4 feet, the earth is at 50 degrees. That's what the temperature is all the time, summer, winter. And so when you earth berm, you're trying to heat not from minus 30, but from 50 degrees. The principal thermal mass is masonry. So the foundation is made of stone and concrete.
There's 200 tons of
There's
it.
about 200 tons of masonry in the house itself. The chimney has 65 tons in it alone. And then you'll notice, if you look around, that there are at least 2 feet of foundation in the living space all the way around. This back portion here of this room is solid masonry, and then the back wall of the house is masonry all the way from basement to roof. This is the main disconnect over here. See, this is like code requirement stuff. So there's a disconnect for the DC portion of the system. There's a disconnect for the panels up here, and then this main disconnect basically isolates the batteries from everything else. Batteries being the principal source of electricity. This is the charge controller, which takes the electricity coming from the photovoltaic panels and conditions it for the battery. So it basically regulates the rate of charge and the height of charge, with the voltage, regulates voltage and the amount of time the batteries are actually charged. So that's those two. This is the inverter down here. So this takes the DC, the low voltage DC, which is 12 volts in our system, and converts it to 120 volt alternating current, which is the typical kind of electricity that you'd have in a normal house. So that makes it possible for us to run all the modern gadgets like washing machines and televisions and stuff like that. Then we have 2 panels. We have an AC panel for the AC loads, and then a separate DC panel for the DC loads. This will open. I just popped this cover on here just to make it look nice. So yeah, there it goes. But yeah, so these are the DC breakers, and then over here AC breakers.
Gotcha. So the solar, the electrons from the solar panels go into the charge controller and immediately to the battery.
And they go right to the battery.
So all loads are basically pulled off the battery before
You
they go
could
to
say
the inverter?
that. You could say that, although for all practical purposes, the battery leads, which feed everything, and the leads from the solar panels all connect inside this primary box here.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, if there's a demand and the panels can pick it up, they'll pick it up. And the batteries, so a day like today, the batteries are charging and all the loads are satisfied at the same time from the panels. So
Got it.
it depends on, just depends on that. That's a great thing about electrons, though. They'll just go, they take the easiest path. If the easiest path is through the light bulb, they'll go there. If it's easier to go through the battery, they'll go there. So we're completely underground here, and we're completely insulated from the house on this side with the styrofoam. On that side also that's about 8 inches of insulation in that wall. And then this back wall is ground insulated, okay, because we're below ground, and plus that foundation is insulated just to, it kind of buffers that heat exchange, so that we can get it below 50 degrees and keep it down there. Then we have air intake over here that comes from the outside, right down there in that corner. And then there's an air vent up there, and that's the one you saw in the back of the house when we were back here. If you notice that big metal chimney that goes up, that's the outlet for that. So in the wintertime, you want to regulate temperature, you just open the bottom, open that, and you'll get airflow, and that'll drop the temperature down to, basically we monitor the temperature with our little sensor here. So we can keep it cold. And then, when temperature outside gets above root cellar temperature, we're just closing the vents to try to hold on to that, the coolness in here. The venting is important too for moisture, because you want about 95% humidity.
Try things. Do it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Read.
read tons, but try it. It's really trying stuff out. People say, "Oh, I can't do XYZ." Well, you must have had some skills. We never did any of this stuff before. Sure, Jim worked with 2x stuff, when he was in construction, but not these kind of timbers. Neither of us had done this kind of masonry. Neither of us had, made all these windows and door kind of things. Though Jim had done a little bit of that kind of stuff, but not a lot. I mean, you have to cut a lot of glass, And so I would say you just try things. And if you're worried about it, do a practice building first. I mean, that's what we did, is we did the barn. We said, okay, let's try out the stone foundation. So my other recommendation is don't be in a hurry,
Yeah.
to take your time. I mean,
Yeah, take your time.
you're not going to be in 6 weeks, if you do it yourself. So just go along with it.
process is
Enjoy
just
the
as important as
process.
getting it.
Yeah, and as you go along in the process, you get ideas, and you also see things that aren't working, and you can change the way you're doing them. If you're doing it one saw stroke at a time, or one shovelful at a time, or one rock at a time, you don't like something, you can change it. You don't have to, like, all of a sudden, everything's cut. You just cut the next one a little different,
Yeah, we're
It's not
still
a big
tweaking
deal.
the design here. I mean, we just, every once in a while, as I'm going along and making things, and finishing things off, we'll say, oh, you know what we could do here? We
Right.
just realize a whole new use for a space that before was just, who knows, it was something you'd never looked at before. Whereas, the typical constructed house it's done on paper before a single nail is ever driven, and there's no going back. Going back is remodeling. For us, going forward is just evolving the design.
Only have 15 minutes.